There's a war going on inside you, and it's the most brutal, relentless battle you will ever face. It's not you versus the world. It's not you versus your circumstances. It's not even you versus the people who doubted you, abandoned you, or disrespected you. No, it's you versus you. That voice in your head that says, I'm tired, maybe tomorrow. That urge to settle when you know you're built for more. That fear whispering, what if I fail? That habit of running back to comfort when growth demands discomfort. A part of you that wants to stay the same when everything in your soul is begging you to change. This is the final battle, and it happens every single day. The outcome of your life depends on which version of you wins. The first and most crucial realization is that your greatest battle isn't external, it's internal. Most people live their entire lives thinking their struggles come from outside forces, difficult people, unfair systems, bad luck, or the circumstances they were born into. But the truth is far more personal and far more powerful. The real war is happening within you. It's not about what the world did to you. It's about how you respond. It's not about who left, who hurt you, or who underestimated you. It's about the version of you that you allow to show up every single day. This battle is silent, but it's constant. It's you versus you. There's a voice inside that wants to quit. A voice that tells you to take the easier route. A voice that's comfortable in laziness, doubt, and fear. That voice whispers lies like, you're not good enough, or you're too tired, or it's okay to skip this one time. And if you're not aware, if you're not conscious, you'll start to believe that voice. You'll let it lead. You'll start living in reaction to fear rather than in alignment with purpose. That voice has already won too many rounds in your life. It's the voice that held you back from taking the risk, from speaking up, from pushing through, from starting the business, ending the toxic relationship, going to the gym, or committing to your calling. And what's worse, it's not just one moment of weakness. It's the pattern that follows when you consistently let the weaker version of you take control. It doesn't scream. It's subtle. It's the small decisions you make when no one is watching. The choice to press snooze, the choice to procrastinate, the choice to scroll instead of read, the choice to give up when you're one step away from a breakthrough. The inner battle doesn't always feel dramatic, but it's there all the time in every decision, chipping away at your potential or building your future. The danger of this battle is that most people don't even know they're fighting it. They think the enemy is their job, their boss, their past, their bank account. They never realize that the true war is between who they are and who they were meant to become. This internal battle is not won by chance. It's won by awareness. You have to recognize when the weak version of you is speaking. You have to name it, confront it, challenge it. Because if you don't, it grows stronger, it gains control, and it begins to shape your identity. The weak version of you loves comfort, loves playing it safe, and loves staying the same. But the real you, the warrior inside, is not afraid of pain, of rejection, of failure. That part of you is hungry for growth. That part of you doesn't care about opinions or obstacles. That part of you is waiting desperately for you to choose. The real challenge is not external pressure, it's internal permission. Will you allow the real you to rise? Will you give yourself permission to stop surviving and start conquering? This doesn't happen with one big choice. It happens through the daily war. The war of habits, the war of decisions. Every morning you wake up, that battle begins again. And the version of you that you feed, the one you give your energy, time, and focus to, is the one that wins. You can't negotiate with the weaker you. You can't bargain with laziness, fear, or mediocrity. You have to kill it. You have to train yourself to ignore its voice, override its urges, and outwork its influence. The most successful, fulfilled, and powerful people on the planet are not special. They're not lucky. They're not more gifted than you. They're simply better at winning the internal war. They've disciplined themselves to let the strongest version of them lead. They've buried the weak self, not with words, but with action, with repetition, with consistent choices that align with their highest purpose, not their lowest urges. And the truth is, you have that same strength inside of you, but it's being smothered by the part of you that's scared of what others will think, scared of failing, scared of change. That fear-based version of you has been in charge for too long, and it's time you step into your own authority. Most people walk through life wrapped in a web of their own lies, not the kind they tell others, but the ones they tell themselves. These are the soft, comfortable falsehoods whispered in the quiet of your mind to protect your ego, to keep you safe from discomfort, from pain, from responsibility. But these lies don't protect you. They imprison you. They're the reason you haven't grown, the reason your potential feels just out of reach. They disguise themselves as justification, but in reality, they're chains that keep you bound to a life you know deep down isn't the one you were meant to live. Lying to yourself looks like saying, I'll start tomorrow, when you know tomorrow will be filled with the same distractions and excuses as today. It sounds like, I'm just too tired, when in truth, you spent hours avoiding the very things that drain your spirit. It feels like, I'm doing the best I can, when deep down, you know you're holding back. You know you're capable of more. But instead of facing that fact, it's easier to soothe the discomfort with a lie that allows you to stay right where you are, comfortable, stagnant, numb. The reason these lies are so dangerous is because they allow mediocrity to feel acceptable. They allow delay to feel reasonable. They give your weaker self a pass and rob your stronger self of a future. When you lie to yourself, you create a fake reality. A version of the truth where you're always the victim, where it's never your fault, where there's always some external force to blame. But as long as you live in that version, you will never take control. You'll stay stuck in the same cycles, wondering why things don't change, why your goals seem so far away, and why others seem to rise while you remain behind. The truth is often uncomfortable, and that's why most people avoid it. It forces you to confront your own patterns. It shows you where you've been lazy, undisciplined, afraid. It makes you look at how much time you've wasted, how often you've broken promises to yourself, how many opportunities you've let pass because you weren't ready to be honest about who you are and what you need to do. But it's in that discomfort where the transformation begins. Growth doesn't come from ease. It comes from facing yourself and saying, no more. When you stop lying to yourself, you begin to reclaim your power. You no longer allow fear to drive your decisions. You stop hiding behind distractions, behind fake confidence, behind half a fort. You start admitting what needs to be fixed and doing something about it. You look at your life with clear eyes. You identify the habits that are killing your drive. You recognize the thoughts that sabotage your peace. You begin to take responsibility for your own becoming. This doesn't mean you beat yourself up. It doesn't mean you live in guilt or shame. It means you step into a new standard. You start holding yourself accountable, not out of self-hatred, but out of self-respect, because you know you deserve better than a life built on denial. You deserve better than goals left half done and dreams constantly delayed. And the only way to access that better life is through truth, pure, uncomfortable, uncompromising truth. You know where you're falling short. You know the areas where you haven't given your all. You know what habits are costing you time, focus, energy, and self-respect. But until you get honest about them, they will continue to control you. They will continue to write your story. Every time you say, it's not my fault, when it is. Every time you say, I couldn't help it, when you could. Every time you act like life is happening to you instead of admitting you're choosing this version of your life, you give away your power. The most powerful change begins the moment you stop pretending and start confronting. When you strip away the layers of denial, the facade of confidence that hides your fear, and the stories you've told yourself to feel better, you're left with something raw, something real, And that raw honesty is the soil where discipline, progress, and transformation take root, because now you're no longer running, you're facing yourself. And that's where your real strength lives. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're faced with a decision. Which version of yourself are you going to choose? There's the version of you that's disciplined, focused, driven by purpose, and willing to do what needs to be done. Then there's the other version, the one that seeks comfort, avoids responsibility, and lives in fear, distraction, and excuses. These two versions are in constant conflict, and whichever one you choose today will determine the outcome of your tomorrow. It's never the world against you. It's you against the version of yourself that wants to stay exactly the same. This internal battle is subtle but fierce. It's not fought on a grand stage with dramatic moments. It's fought in small, quiet decisions. Do you get up when your alarm goes off, or do you hit snooze and go back to bed? Do you follow through on what you said you would do, or do you make excuses and rationalize your way out? Do you push through resistance, or do you give in and retreat back to your comfort zone? These choices may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are casting votes for which version of you gets stronger. The disciplined version of you knows your potential. It sees beyond the present moment and makes decisions based on long-term impact. It doesn't care how you feel. It cares about who you want to become. That version of you is focused on mastery, growth, and purpose. It doesn't need permission from others to take action, and it doesn't wait for perfect conditions to start. It acts because it knows that action creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. The other version, the weaker self, is always close. It's familiar. It's safe. It offers you short-term pleasure, instant gratification, and the illusion of relief. It whispers, "You've done enough," when you've barely started. It tells you, "Take it easy," when you need to go harder. It wants you to live in reaction rather than intention. And it's persuasive. It sounds logical. It uses your fears against you. And it always knows exactly what to say to make quitting feel like the right decision. This is why awareness is everything. You have to be brutally honest with yourself about who is showing up. Every time you make a choice that favors the weaker version of you, that version grows more confident. It starts to take over your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can't be consistent, someone who always quits, someone who never reaches the next level. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can reverse it. You can reclaim control. But it starts with deciding, really deciding who you want to be, and then aligning your actions with that decision every single day. There's no in between. You're either choosing progress or choosing regression. You're either moving forward or sliding backward. The life you're living right now is a reflection of which version of yourself you've been choosing more often. And if that truth is uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the spark of change. It's the signal that you're waking up to your power, that you're ready to stop living below your potential. But it will take more than a spark. It will take a daily fight to let the right version of you lead. You don't need a massive transformation overnight. You need a string of consistent, intentional choices. You need to win enough small battles that the disciplined version of you becomes your default. You need to feed the right voice and starve the wrong one. Because the version of you that's focused and driven won't just appear one day. It will be built choice by choice, action by action, day by day. There is no external force holding you back that is more powerful than the internal one you've allowed to lead. And every time you give in to that lesser self, you delay the life that's waiting on the other side of effort. But every time you choose the stronger version, when you show up, follow through, and push past resistance, you shift the balance. You begin to live in alignment with your highest self. And slowly that becomes who you are. Not just in moments of motivation, but in every area of your life. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's a skill you train, a mindset you build, and a commitment you make to yourself every single day. It's not glamorous and it's not always fun, but it's the foundation of every breakthrough, every transformation, and every success story. Without discipline, your goals are nothing more than dreams. Without discipline, you'll always fall short, not because you lack talent or potential, but because you lack control over your own behavior. Discipline is what separates those who talk about change from those who live it. It's the bridge between who you are and who you're trying to become. The disciplined version of you doesn't wait for the right mood to act. It doesn't depend on motivation because motivation is fleeting. Some days you feel it, most days you won't. But discipline doesn't care. Discipline shows up anyway. It gets up when the alarm rings. It puts in the work whether anyone is watching or not. It keeps its word even when no one else would know you broke it. It doesn't chase feeling good. It chases being great. And that's what makes it powerful, because when you start living by discipline instead of emotion, you take back your power. You no longer let your circumstances dictate your actions. You lead yourself. And that's where real strength is found. Training discipline is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up again and again, even when you fall short, even when it's inconvenient, even when every part of you wants to quit. It's choosing the hard path when the easy one is calling your name. It's saying yes to the grind and no to the excuse. It's understanding that every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust with yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more unstoppable you become. Because when discipline becomes who you are, success becomes inevitable. You stop relying on external rewards or praise because the process itself becomes the reward. Discipline is the internal armor that protects your vision. Without it, your goals are vulnerable to distraction, to temptation, to laziness. The world will always offer you shortcuts, always tempt you with the easy way out. But discipline refuses to take shortcuts. It knows that anything earned without effort won't last. It's willing to delay gratification, to suffer a little now for something greater later. That's the cost of excellence. And most people aren't willing to pay it, which is exactly why most people never rise. But if you want to separate yourself from the average, from the crowd, from your old self, then discipline is the price. Building discipline doesn't require talent, intelligence, or luck. It requires decisions, simple, repeated decisions. When you wake up and feel like staying in bed, do you get up anyway? When you're tired and your goals feel far away, do you still put in the reps? When the results are slow and the payoff hasn't come yet, do you keep going anyway? That's discipline. It's forged in discomfort. It's built in silence. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better than the version of you that gave up before. Every time you choose effort over ease, you strengthen that muscle. And over time, that discipline turns into freedom, the freedom to live on your own terms, to create the life you actually want, not the one you settled for fast. You cannot build a legacy, change your life, or reach your potential without discipline. It's the only thing that keeps you grounded when everything around you is chaos. It gives you focus when distractions are everywhere. It gives you peace when your emotions want to control you. And most importantly, it gives you power, the power to act regardless of how you feel. That's the difference between those who are driven by purpose and those who are prisoners of their feelings. Discipline doesn't eliminate emotion, it overrides it. It allows you to feel tired, afraid, or unmotivated and still move forward. That's where transformation begins. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard and you show up anyway. Most people look at discipline as restriction, but it's the opposite. Discipline is the key to freedom. It's what allows you to break free from regret, from self-doubt, from a life of unrealized potential. Without it, you're a slave to impulses, stuck in cycles and ruled by short-term feelings. But with it, you become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. Pain is the sharpest teacher life has to offer, and yet it's the one most people run from the fastest. They avoid it, numb it, deny it, or disguise it. But in doing so, they miss the very lessons that could change everything. Pain has a purpose. It's not just there to hurt you, it's there to wake you up. It shows you what's broken, what needs to change, what you've tolerated for too long. It reveals the gaps in your character, the cracks in your mindset, and the blind spots in your behavior. And until you face it, you will never truly evolve. You'll stay stuck in cycles, repeating the same mistakes, attracting the same struggles, and blaming everything. But the one thing that needs to change, your willingness to confront your pain. Pain has a strange way of introducing you to your true self. It strips away the image you project to the world, tears through your excuses, and forces you to see who you are beneath it all. Not who you pretend to be when everything's fine, but who you are when everything breaks. When the people leave, when the plans fall apart, when nothing goes your way. That version of you, the one standing alone in the dark, is the real you, and what you do in that moment defines your future. You can choose to stay broken, bitter, and small, or you can choose to rise, rebuild, and become something stronger. Pain invites you to level up, but the invitation comes disguised as loss, as betrayal, as failure, as rejection. It never shows up the way you want it to, but it always shows up the way you need it to, because nothing transforms you faster than the kind of hurt that makes you question everything. The pain of disappointment forces you to grow thicker skin. The pain of failure forces you to rethink your strategies. The pain of betrayal forces you to raise your standards. And the pain of loss forces you to cherish what truly matters. These lessons can't be taught in comfort. They're only earned through suffering. Most people try to silence their pain before it speaks. They distract themselves, drown it out, or bury it under noise. But when you sit with it, really sit with it, you begin to hear what it's trying to tell you. You heal the wounds you've ignored, and you begin to understand the power you've been giving away. Pain is not there to punish you. It's there to point the way forward. It's there to break the shell of who you used to be, so that you can grow into who you're meant to be. But only if you're willing to stop running and start listening. There's a version of you that only exists on the other side of pain, a version that's wiser, tougher, more grounded, more resilient. But to reach that version, you've got to stop treating pain like the enemy. You've got to lean into it. Not because you enjoy it, but because you understand it. Because you know that every scar carries wisdom and every wound carries growth. You learn to stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That's how you reclaim your power. That's how you take control of your story instead of letting pain control you. It's not enough to go through pain. You have to grow through it. Otherwise, it becomes wasted. And the tragedy isn't the pain itself. It's enduring all of that suffering and walking away unchanged. You didn't survive just to stay the same. You didn't endure heartbreak, setbacks, and breakdowns just to remain in the same place, mentally and emotionally. Pain was meant to sharpen you, to prepare you, to humble you, and most importantly, to fuel you. When you channel it into purpose, it becomes the very thing that pushes you to rise higher than you ever thought possible. The most powerful people you'll ever meet are not the ones who've never felt pain. They're the ones who faced it, accepted it, and used it. They turned their wounds into wisdom, their scars into strength, and their brokenness into breakthroughs. They didn't wait for healing to come before moving forward. They used the pain as a stepping stone. And now they walk with a kind of quiet confidence that only pain can teach. A kind of self-trust that doesn't shake in storms because it was forged in the fire. That level of power is available to anyone, but it requires courage. The courage to feel deeply, to face yourself honestly, and to let the pain shape you instead of shatter you. The mirror doesn't lie. It reflects back not just your physical appearance, but the reality of your choices, your habits, and your commitment to yourself. And yet, it's often the most avoided truth in a person's life. Most people would rather distract themselves than confront what the mirror reveals, not because they're blind, but because they're scared. Scared to admit they've let themselves down, scared to face the gap between who they are and who they were meant to be. But real growth begins the moment you stop avoiding that reflection. The moment you look yourself in the eye and say, this is on me, and it's up to me to change it. You can't fight what you don't acknowledge. And the battle with yourself begins in the space between who you pretend to be and who you actually are. It begins in the lies you tell yourself to feel better, the lie that you're doing your best when deep down you know you're not, the lie that you'll start tomorrow even though you said the same thing yesterday, the lie that it's not your fault when you know you could have shown up differently. These lies feel comfortable in the moment, but they are costing you everything in the long run, because the longer you deny your role in your own situation, the longer you stay stuck in it. Taking full ownership of your life isn't about blaming yourself for everything that's happened. It's about owning your power to respond, to shift, and to rise. It's about standing in front of the mirror and refusing to point fingers. No more, if only they supported me, or if only I had more time, or if only things were different. You stop waiting for the world to hand you a better situation, and you start becoming the kind of person who creates one. That shift in mindset is where your power lives. That's where the chains break. That's where freedom begins. Because the second you say, this is my responsibility, you take control of your outcome. When you own your choices, you also own your potential. You realize that your circumstances don't define your future, your actions do. That no one's coming to save you, and that's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to step up. You stop looking for heroes and start becoming one. You stop asking for easy roads and start walking the hard ones with grit, knowing the struggle is shaping something stronger inside you. Responsibility isn't a burden. It's the beginning of transformation. Because when you take control, you no longer fear the hard truth. You welcome it because you know it's the only path to real change. Self-responsibility is also about being brutally honest with your habits. You can't pray for clarity and live in chaos. You can't ask for breakthrough and keep repeating the behaviors that broke you in the first place. You have to look at your life and call out the contradictions. Are your actions aligned with your aspirations? Are your daily choices reflecting the person you say you want to become? Because if not, then it's time to adjust. Not tomorrow, not when it feels convenient, but now. Responsibility is ruthless like that. It doesn't allow room for excuses, and it doesn't let you off the hook. It forces you to choose. Keep lying to yourself or step into the truth and change. There is no power in blaming. Blame is the language of the powerless. It keeps you trapped in victim mode, convinced that your life is the result of everyone else's actions. But when you stop blaming and start owning, your entire story shifts. You realize that while you can't control everything, you can control your attitude, your effort, your reaction, and your next move. That's all you need to build something extraordinary. Responsibility sharpens your focus. It aligns your energy. It clears the noise and brings everything back to the only thing you can truly change, yourself. And the truth is, the person you're fighting to become is already inside you. But they can't emerge until you stop hiding behind excuses, until you start facing the facts, until you own the good, the bad, and everything in between. The final battle is not about proving something to the world. It's about proving to yourself that you're no longer willing to live in denial, that you're no longer accepting half effort, that you're done negotiating with your potential. When you take responsibility for your life, you take the first step toward becoming unstoppable, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Every single person has a voice in their head, an inner dialogue that speaks louder than the world around them. And for most people, that voice is not a coach, it's a critic. It points out flaws, exaggerates failures, and downplays progress. It reminds you of every mistake, every insecurity, every shortcoming you've ever had. It whispers doubts in moments of opportunity and screams fears when you try to rise. That voice is the enemy within. And unless you confront it, it will sabotage everything you're trying to build. No matter how much talent, potential, or ambition you have, none of it matters if the voice inside is working against you instead of for you. That voice was built over years of conditioning through childhood wounds, past rejections, failures, and painful memories. You didn't choose it, but you've lived with it for so long that you started believing it. It became your inner truth, even though it was never the truth. And because you believed it, you acted on it. You played small, you hesitated, you second-guessed yourself. You settled for less, not because you were incapable, but because you were convinced you didn't deserve more. That's the danger of unchecked inner dialogue. It becomes a prison of the mind, and it locks you in a life far below your potential. Rewriting that inner voice is not easy, but it is necessary. You have to become conscious of what you're telling yourself on a daily basis. Start paying attention to your internal language. When things go wrong, do you call yourself a failure, or do you remind yourself that you're learning? When you fall short, do you shame yourself, or do you encourage yourself to try again? The words you speak to yourself matter more than anything anyone else can say, because what you repeat in your mind becomes your reality. You become what you believe, and what you believe is shaped by what you say to yourself over and over again. The mind is always listening. It listens when you say, I can't, I'm not good enough, I'll never figure it out. And it adjusts your behavior to match that belief. It finds evidence to support your self-doubt. It filters out opportunities because it's trying to stay consistent with the identity you've declared. But when you flip the script, when you start telling yourself, I am capable, I can learn this, I belong in this room, your mind begins to search for proof of those truths instead. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you become intentional with your inner dialogue. The most powerful transformation happens when your inner voice becomes your ally instead of your enemy. When it no longer tears you down, but builds you up. When it no longer reminds you of your flaws, but speaks to your potential. That version of you doesn't need external validation because it's been affirmed from within. That version of you doesn't panic in storms because it's guided by self-trust. It doesn't fold under pressure because it has been training in silence, facing every fear, every lie, and every shadow that once controlled it. That kind of mindset is unshakable, and it starts with mastering the conversation happening in your head. You have to challenge that negative inner voice every time it shows up. Don't let it speak unopposed. Talk back. When it says, you're not ready, remind it of everything you've already overcome. When it says, you always fail, list the times you got back up. When it says, you don't matter, scream back, I was made with purpose. This is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to let fear and doubt write your story. It's about rewriting the narrative in real time, even when you don't feel like it, because eventually those new words become your new identity. Affirmation isn't a weakness. It's a weapon. It retrains your brain, builds your confidence, and hardens your resilience. And you don't need permission to speak life into yourself. You don't need to wait until you feel worthy to start declaring that you are. You declare it until you believe it. You repeat it until it feels real. You fight back against the critic in your mind until the coach takes over. That's how you win from within, because if the enemy in your head is louder than the belief in your heart, you'll lose battles before they even begin. But when your inner voice is aligned with your goals, your values, and your vision, nothing can stop you. Not circumstances, not people, not fear. Only you can give that voice its script. And it's time you chose words that empower, not limit. You are the architect of your own destiny, and yet so many people live their lives as if they are merely passengers on a journey they have no control over. They let circumstances dictate their direction, allowing fear, doubt, and the opinions of others to shape their choices. But the truth is, you have a power within you to design your life on your terms. Every day is an opportunity to lay the foundation for the life you want. And every decision you make is a brick in the wall of your future. Too often, people get caught up in the busyness of life and forget the simple fact that they are creating their own reality moment by moment. The most important step toward reclaiming control over your life is to understand that you are not at the mercy of external forces unless you allow yourself to be. While you can't control everything, there will always be things outside of your grasp, such as other people's actions or unexpected events. You can control how you respond. Your attitude, your mindset, and the choices you make are completely within your power. And once you realize that, the world starts to look different. You become less of a victim to your circumstances and more of a creator of your experiences. It begins with recognizing that you hold the pen to your story. Too many people live as if their future is written by forces beyond their control. They believe that things happen to them rather than for them. They believe that opportunities are given, not created. They believe that success is determined by luck or circumstance rather than the result of deliberate effort and intention. But when you truly take ownership of your life, you realize that your success is not dependent on random chance. It is a product of the choices you make every single day. You become empowered to make decisions that align with your goals, your values, and your vision. You stop waiting for permission from others or for the right time to take action. You take charge and begin making moves toward your dreams, even if they seem small or imperfect. Progress is better than perfection, and momentum is more important than fear. As the architect of your own life, you are also responsible for removing the things that don't serve you. This means cutting out toxic relationships, eliminating negative self-talk, and letting go of limiting beliefs. You cannot build a strong foundation for your future if you are weighed down by emotional baggage, unhealthy patterns, or self-doubt. Take a long, hard look at the people, the habits, and the thoughts that surround you. Are they helping you grow? Are they pushing you closer to your goals? Or are they holding you back? In many cases, the most difficult decisions are not about what you need to add to your life, but what you need to subtract. Once you begin to clear away the clutter, whether it's negative people, bad habits, or outdated mindsets, you create space for the life you truly want to build. Designing your life also requires intention. It's not enough to simply want something better. You have to be proactive about making it happen. This means setting clear goals, creating actionable plans, and holding yourself accountable to your vision. Intentional living is about making choices that reflect your deepest desires, not the expectations others place on you. It's about choosing to prioritize what matters most, even when distractions and temptations try to pull you off course. To design your life, you need to know exactly what you want. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to create? What legacy do you want to leave? These aren't easy questions to answer, but they are necessary ones. If you don't take the time to define what you want, you'll spend your life wandering, pulled in 100 different directions by the forces of external influence. The key to being the architect of your life is also to be relentless in your pursuit of your goals. There will be setbacks, challenges, and obstacles along the way, and at times it may feel as though everything is working against you. But those are the moments when your true strength is tested. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the ability to stay committed even when things get tough. It's about being resilient in the face of adversity, knowing that every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger. Every setback is just a stepping stone to greater success, and every failure is a lesson in disguise. To truly design your life, you must learn to trust the process. The path to your dreams will not always be linear. There will be twists and turns, unexpected detours, and moments of uncertainty. But as long as you stay true to your vision and continue moving forward, you will arrive at the destination that was meant for you. Trust in the journey, even when it feels uncertain. Keep building, keep creating, and keep moving forward with the unwavering belief that you are in control of your life's blueprint. Your future is not something that happens to you. It is something that you create with every choice you make today. The final key to mastering the battle of you versus you is understanding that every action, every decision, and every moment of effort is a step toward the person you want to become. Life is not a series of random events or accidents. It is a culmination of the choices you make, the mindset you adopt, and the way you respond to challenges. The person you see in the mirror today is the result of everything you've done up until this point, but the person you will become tomorrow depends entirely on what you do now. The biggest enemy you face is not the world around you, nor is it the circumstances you cannot control. It is the person you are today, standing in the way of the person you are destined to become. You must realize that you are always in a state of becoming, and every day is a new opportunity to become something greater than you were yesterday. Every great transformation begins with a single decision, a commitment to change. Most people wait for a moment of inspiration or a stroke of luck to start their journey, but the truth is that inspiration doesn't come first. It comes after action. You can't sit around waiting for motivation to strike. You must take the first step, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's difficult. When you take action, you begin to build momentum, and that momentum fuels your progress. It's the small, consistent steps that lead to big change. Those who succeed are not those who wait for the perfect moment. They are the ones who act in the imperfect moment, even when they don't have all the answers. To win the battle against yourself, you must learn to take ownership of your future. Stop waiting for someone or something to change your circumstances. You have everything you need within you to create the life you want. Your destiny is not a random outcome of life's events. It is shaped by your choices. No one else is responsible for your success or failure. While there may be external factors that influence your journey, ultimately, you decide the path you take. The sooner you accept full responsibility for your life, the sooner you will realize that you have the power to change it. Blaming others or waiting for a better situation will only keep you stuck in the same place. This battle you're fighting is not one where you can rely on anyone else to win for you. You can seek advice, mentorship, and support, but ultimately the only person who can make the changes needed to elevate your life is you. This means that you have to take full accountability for your actions, decisions, and growth. It's easy to fall into the trap of blaming the world for where you are, but that mindset is limiting. When you shift from a mindset of blame to one of responsibility, everything changes. You realize that you are not a passive observer in your life. You are the active creator. Part of this responsibility is developing the discipline to show up even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is not about following rigid rules or making sacrifices. It is about consistency. It's about committing to your goals even when they seem distant and taking the necessary steps toward them every single day. Discipline is about creating habits that align with your purpose and sticking to them even when you don't feel motivated. When you master discipline, you start to build a character that is unstoppable. Motivation may come and go, but discipline will carry you through when motivation fades. It is the foundation upon which success is built. Another critical component of winning the battle within is self-awareness. To grow, you must first understand where you are starting from. This requires a brutal honesty with yourself about your strengths, weaknesses, and patterns. Too often, people refuse to look at the truth of who they are because they fear judgment or disappointment. But it's only through embracing your flaws and acknowledging your growth areas that you can take real steps toward change. Self-awareness is not about being perfect. It's about being real. When you understand who you are and where you need to improve, you are in the best position to take intentional action toward becoming who you want to be. But the most powerful realization in this battle is that you are not fighting against an external enemy. The person you are fighting is the one who doubts, procrastinates, fears, and self-sabotages. The real enemy is the version of you that holds you back from stepping into your true potential. The battle is not about overcoming the world. It's about overcoming yourself. The key to unlocking your potential is to confront the limiting beliefs, self-doubt, and fears that have kept you playing small. Once you eliminate the internal barriers that hold you back, external challenges become easier to face. The power is always within you, and the sooner you recognize this, the sooner you will find yourself walking confidently toward your goals. The most rewarding aspect of this battle is not necessarily the end result, but the person you become along the way. The journey itself is the reward. With every step forward, you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The battle may be long and difficult, but the lessons you learn and the strength you build make it all worth it. You will emerge from this battle a new person, someone who is no longer held captive by doubt, fear, or limitation. Instead, you will stand as a testament to the power of resilience, ownership, and the relentless pursuit of becoming the best version of yourself.